Hey everybody, welcome back to Simpit, and today we're in a special place. We are at the headquarters of SimLab, and along with me, I've got the owner and CEO of SimLab, Richard. Richard,
Hi, guys.
thank you for having me here. I know we've been trying to plan this for a long time now. Just life happens.
Right, finally happened.
But I'm super glad to be here. And thanks again for inviting me to come out.
You're welcome.
So without further ado, I know like most people, SimLab is mostly a European company, so I know a lot of people probably outside of the EU don't really know SimLab or know you behind the company. So can you give us a little intro about who you are, how you got into sim racing?
Yeah, sure.
And
I'm Richard Schouteren. I'm the CEO of SimLab. I founded the company in 2015, and it originated from my hobby as a sim racer. And my background is in mechanical engineering. So it kind of all happened during my daytime job that I had back then. And from one thing, it rolled into all of a sudden a company with an e-commerce and
cool, man. We've talked a little bit. I know pretty much essentially, so you're a sim racer, and I think like you found like there's things missing in sim racing. And I can't believe, I think what you said next month is going to be 10 years of SimLab.
Yeah, I have a hard time to say that, but it has been 10 years.
But can you take us through how the idea started? Because you started essentially working from your kitchen to now having this global operation.
I think the essence of SimLab starting out was the development of the OSW on the forums, and also obviously the hobby growing and getting more serious, I think. And it kind of started out when one day I saw on YouTube some guy driving a Daytona prototype in some 2-hour race, which I thought was like, okay, this is totally crazy. I want to know what this is and be a part of it. And back then, there were people that building their own setups with aluminum profiles. Yeah, and I don't think it's anything more than me kind of seeing like, hey, maybe this is a business. This is these cockpits I can sell as kits, and that's I think that's where the whole story started. But the real reason why aluminum cockpits exist is kind of because of the direct drive motors coming out, and you really need a sturdy platform to bolt those things on it.
Yeah, I think 10 years ago the standard was having a Logitech or a Thrustmaster belt, or a gear-driven wheel. You just stick it on your desk.
Right.
And people had to find solutions with direct drives because people were building their own back then. You couldn't just go to SimMagic or Fanatec, get it by direct drive. You kind of had to build your own.
Yeah, you need to build it yourself. Yeah. And still, the direct drive that was selected as the GOAT, the Midge motor. Everyone who's into direct drives know what I'm talking about. Is still that form factor 10 years later is still the standard.
Yeah.
So the front mount of the P1X, which exists for so long now, is still it's that form factor that still is alive nowadays. And obviously direct drive took off, and it grew the market. Obviously because the let's be honest, low-end market with Logitech and all of the other wheels is still by far the biggest piece in its own right, because obviously the lower cost. But that high-end market really grew, and I think along that SimLab also grew with it.
So I guess take us back. I'm gonna ask kind of a funny question here. It's like, because you were working out of your house at first. How did the family take it? Having everything all over the place before you're able to.
I know. How deep do you want to go? I don't know.
Did they think you were crazy?
Well, I don't think. If I wouldn't get support. I mean, my wife Verena is a very big part of SimLab. And obviously now she has an important role in the the company, handling a lot of things. But without support, it wouldn't went anywhere because within a couple of months, my small house was turned into a working manufacturing place.
Right.
Like seriously, we couldn't. There were days that we couldn't exit the house through the front through the front door because it was blocked with packages.
Yeah.
So it was like all out, all hands on deck. You see something in front of you that you're thinking like, hey, this can become something. I mean, the intention with SimLab was, to build something out of it, which how to put it, which would help us.
Yeah.
Financially, I guess. So yeah, the first days of SimLab was just like opening up a website, throwing an e-commerce live, and watching orders stream in from New Zealand to France to Canada, US, and being amazed about it. Like, hey, this is working. People need this.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're catering towards something that people want and need, and within maybe half a year, working evening shifts, so daytime job, evening coming home, making packages, manufacturing small bits and parts. I had like a drilling machine in the middle of the living room. I kind of was like, this trend is keeping up. I'm going to quit my job. That kind of happened, I can still remember it. It was 10 years ago. I walked into the manager's office and I said, I'm quitting my job.
Yeah.
And it was, and then one morning I found at that time, we moved the business out of the living room and kitchen towards the garage box that we had, like 50 meters down the street.
Yeah.
And I found myself, walking down the street in the morning towards the garage. And I was like, oh, what did I do?
Yeah.
But it was, the growth was really stable. So it was every month steady growth.
Yeah. It's like when you went to your boss to say, hey, I'm quitting, did you tell him why you were quitting? Or
I didn't.
So like, did they give you weird looks like sim racing? Like, what is this? Like,
I think they're clueless.
Okay.
If they're watching this video, they probably don't have a clue.
Because it's the same thing. Like when I tell people outside of sim racing, like, yeah, well, what do you do for your hobbies? They're like, I sim race. And they're like, huh? What's that? I was like, I got a cockpit with a wheel and pedals. And I'm like, that's kind of weird. And some people are like, oh wow, that's really cool. Like, I don't know that stuff existed.
Yeah, most people, obviously don't ever. It become way more mainstream. After Max Verstappen is, especially in Holland, it's full on sim racing. So in the COVID, it became really big. But before that, people didn't have a clue what you were doing.
Yeah. So going back to the beginning, I think that at the time, like the biggest popular rig was a GT1 Evo, and then later on you brought the P1, the original P1, P1X, kind of set the standard, the benchmark. So what was your vision for those products, and why do you think so many racers, why do you think those rigs resonated with sim racers to become essentially like the benchmark standard for sim racing cockpits?
Well, there was a time when other brands were not having aluminum cockpits. So we in a way were more or less the pioneers. But what I did is I just from a perspective of cost-effective production, basically what I did is taking aluminum profiles and adding a couple of brackets to them, which were tailored towards the need for sim racers.
Right.
So it gave the cockpit a little bit of its own character and a cost-effective way to produce it and and challenge basically also the do-it-yourself type of cockpits where everything is aluminum profiles and everything is just off the shelf. So we made a mix between off the shelf and custom fabricated brackets. Yeah.
Cool, man.
But it's not. I don't think you could say that's just one thing. It's everything combined. Like the design, it's the service that we provided. It's the more or less the DNA of SimLab is really about people being happy if they buy something from us in terms of cost and quality. So they and the service that they get, and the guarantees that we give. So that's always been at the highest priority.
Yeah.
Everything that we're doing, if something breaks, we're not going to even question. We just replace it, and we are super committed towards long-term relationship with customers. So if people buy something from us, we want them to become part of the family, and that's the strategy. And it's everywhere, and in everything that we do, that is the strategy to bring as much value for the customers that we can. We don't really care about how we do it. Doesn't really matter. It's about the value at the end that the customer experiences. That's the strategy, and it's working.
And I think it's worked so well so far. I mean, I've never heard anything but good praises about, especially customer service. I mean, you've seen in the last couple of years, I'm not going to mention names, but certain companies kind of fell by the wayside. I think mostly because of customer service, but I think it's true to testament to you guys to show, we want to make sure we have top-notch customer service
for sure.
To keep, customers, or not, I'll say even customers, like, sim racers loyal to the SimLab product.
It's not like rocket science. When a customer has a problem, it's actually an opportunity. I don't want to give too many tips to the competition, but this is an opportunity to make from a customer who's very frustrated into a lifetime advocate of your brand if you fix it.
Right.
Because people, when there's a problem, people are sometimes really emotional about it because they are so emotional about their hobby and sim racing. So it's a strategy. We wanna make it right, and most of the time you get a friend for life.
Yeah, no, that's
like that.
Yeah, that's great, man. That's awesome. I mean, I've bought products from you guys before. I could always say like customer service is always top notch. So
sometimes we get it, but sometimes we get it wrong. We're not always. Sometimes we're not responsive, or it takes 2 days before we get a chance to answer an email. We got a dedicated team on it. And it's important.
Yeah, sure. So I mean, I'm going to shift away a little bit to from product stuff and going into SimLab. Like now, you guys are partnered with Mercedes, the AMG, the F1 team. How did that collaboration start, and how does working with like an elite team like that shape how you do your business or design your product, or does it affect how you design your products?
Well, how it started out is that during the Corona, a lot of real races were all of a sudden, needing sim racing cockpit, diving onto sim racing, and I basically just got a WhatsApp in the evening from Stoffel van Doorn, which was a former McLaren F1 driver, and he said like, I want to get into sim racing, and but by the way, he was also connected to the Esports team, and that was in the time when the Esports F1 thing started happening, and Drive to Survive, that part. And that's how I got into contact with somebody from the esports side of Mercedes F1, and then we partnered up, and we became a team supplier for a couple of years, and that ultimately ended up in being able to do a officially licensed F1 product. So that's how it kind of got started, and so a lot of we were the place to go, for these brands. And
so I mean, have you since then, like, have you had other like racing teams trying to hit you guys up for saying, hey, we want to partner with you? And
Yeah.
yeah.
No, yeah, that did happen. Yeah, it did happen. We've been partnered up with Red Bull for some time,
Mhm.
but obviously now we're like Mercedes minded.
Yeah.
We've done the Formula One wheel together with them, which was a great, it was a great experience for me personally.
Right.
It was a milestone to be able to work. I mean, even like as an engineer, to be able to get your hands on
Mhm.
the actual steering wheel cut data was a really cool moment. To open it up,
Yeah.
just loading it up into the computer, and look at it. That was really cool.
Yeah.
It was all just amazing, and working with the team is amazing.
Mhm.
I had a chance to visit the factory multiple times. It's just mind blowing.
Yeah.
You really need to see it with your own eyes before you really realize what's going on
Mhm.
behind those doors. And the Formula One wheel is really like it's not like a product for everyone. It's a special project.
Right.
Call it like that. It's a really special steering wheel. It was. The wheel was actually a project,
Mhm.
an internal project of Lewis Hamilton.
Oh wow. Okay.
He helped design the wheel
Mhm.
from what it was like more than 10 years ago, I think.
Right.
So that's also inside of Mercedes F1. That's a well-known thing. That was his project.
Right.
To get everything exactly right.
Because I saw on there it had the signature Hamilton clutch paddle on the back of the on the rear rim too.
Yeah, right. It's all regulations actually. They can only use one clutch.
Right.
But the layout of the buttons and it's just completely focused on performance. You really need to drive it, and that's one of the greatest things I think about it is that there are actually two things about the wheel which I think are really great. One is everything about the wheel, that why it's used in a real Formula One car, why it looks like how it looks, carries over to the sim. It feels comfortable. I think that was one of the biggest surprises to me, how comfortable it is. And then all of a sudden you realize, like, yeah, of course, it needs to be super comfortable and fits like a glove, basically, because you don't want to hold anything that's not comfortable in your hands.
No.
It's so much money spent. And then the second thing is with Formula One wheel is that Formula One is so out of reach. You cannot touch a Formula One car. And to be able to get something in your hands that's so close to the real thing, is it's great, I think.
Yeah. So you guys partnered with Mercedes. You came out with the F1 wheel. Is there going to be any future collaborations with other products with Mercedes? I mean, if you could give us a teaser, you don't have to say anything if you don't want to, but can we expect more stuff from
I cannot really disclose it. That's everything that I can say. To take away from it what you want, but that's it. I cannot disclose anything.
Okay. So guys, expect more stuff. Mercedes brand stuff if you're a Mercedes fan. Yeah. Staying on the theme of equipment. I mean, for the longest time, you were doing just cockpits, and then you started getting into more of Simracing Accessories. And so, what made you want to jump into building Simracing accessories, like pedals, dashboards, DDUs, and things like that?
Yeah, well, it was, I think, a very natural progression of everything that we've been doing. I've been known for the cockpits. For the first 5-6 years, we've been only doing cockpits and accessories, but the step into pedals, shifters, handbrakes, it's very natural progression. We wanted to bring to apply the same formula to pedals and handbrakes, and obviously what also came crashing in, which I didn't mention yet, is obviously the Grid brand that we took over, which gave us a couple steps of I'm not sure how to say that progress in one go. But yeah, so far it has been a success. The broadening up of the product line, and that's the vision for SimLab.
Right. Yeah, get into like so. I mean, you came out, you absorbed a lot of the grid engineering stuff, but you also you designed essentially the XP1 pedals. What was your goal designing it, and how do you think it stands out from the other high-end load cell pedals that are out there on the market?
Yeah. Well, I think what is really important and maybe not so obvious on looking from the outside in is that it's really all about what price point you want to sit at, and in the most basic sense, figuring out how you want to produce it, which manufacturing methods you want to use. That's ultimately what's going to dictate, the price point and functionality and all of that. So, regarding the pedals, I just wanted to make a very cost-effective pedal set, and without sacrificing quality, sacrificing sturdiness, and I think we just combined all the best parts, So almost all parts of the pedals are single shot injection, which you can really manufacture at volume. That's really important. And from a functionality standpoint, it ticks all the boxes, at least in my head. So the pedals are separated. Some racers are very particular where the pedals need to be placed. It has a load cell at the right place. It has an inline positioned load cell. It got the ball bearings. It got the beefiness. It got the adjustments that you want to make on the fly. So yeah, that's in my view. We can compete with all other load cell pedals.
Well, I mean, you didn't even just stop with just the pedals and the shifters and stuff. At the last Simracing Expo, you brought with you the new Wheelbase that you've been working on, and you've been working on it for a while. Can you share with it, what, maybe it's the same thought process, it's just a natural progression to start building a Wheelbase. Can you share, what kind of users you're building this Wheelbase for, and how do you think it fits into the ecosystem that you're building within SimLab?
I think it all starts out, and it's a whole journey, going from having the intention or the thought even of trying, considering to develop a direct drive wheelbase to the moment where probably you've been down some paths already and it didn't work out, and now you're on a path which looks very promising because building a direct drive wheelbase from scratch, forget about it.
Right.
You don't have the you don't have the technology in house, and it's not. So you need to work with partners.
Right.
That's my point. You need to get people in or get partners in that you can work with.
Right.
So the idea about a direct drive base started out many years ago. And exploring options, talking to people, working with people, and eventually we ended up with a partner which is very knowledgeable. This is a company that operates exactly in that window of motor controlling. So it's a company that is very knowledgeable. Has developed their own motor controllers. There's a lot of R&D in it, and is an expert in the field. So that we stumbled upon them. Decided to fly out next week to them to meet them. That's how it kind of works. And from one thing, another thing comes, and the beauty of it is that we can start with we started with a clean slate. Okay, what is the competition doing? What do we want to do? And if you have a company that is in full control of all these facets of motor drives, then you can really start to, get all the best parts
Right.
on board, basically. And that is what happened. We made a couple of choices which are not so common. So one of them is we got an integrated power supply.
Mhm.
One of the reasons why all manufacturers are not having an integrated power supply is that it kind of so there's if you're releasing an electronic product into the market, there's compliance that you need
Right.
to adhere to, and the way that it works now, if you have an external power supply, all the compliance is on the power supply.
Yep.
And you can buy it off the shelf, basically.
Right.
And that fixes a couple of problems right away.
Mhm.
So no compliance needed apart from a couple on your base itself, and the rest is on the power supply. But we flipped the script and put the power supply inside of the housing, which also gave the opportunity to not work with 48 volts,
Mhm.
which all power supplies now are, but to work with 400 volts.
Right.
So our base is going to be 400 volts.
Wow.
The thing is that the most used motors, servo motors, they are designed to run at these type of voltages.
Mhm.
They're not made for 48 volts.
Right.
So there's quite a gain to be found in performance-wise, and specifically that. And so that all went very well. From first prototypes that we got in our hands to test
Mhm.
were instantly very good. We were so confident that we took them. I think a month before the expo of last year, we 1 or 2 months, we did the first testing round on the prototypes, and we were feeling so confident about this that we were like, we're just going to take them with us.
Mhm.
Got really a lot of good feedback on them from the get-go, and that's where we are now. We're full swing getting these motors to market.
Yeah. I got to try out the Wheelbase at the Sim Expo, and I was kind of surprised because I don't think anybody really knew you were bringing the Wheelbases out there with you for the Sim Expo, so it was kind of a shock for a lot of people. But I got to try it, and I was kind of blown away. I'm like, holy crap, this is a really good Wheelbase. And when I talked to you a little bit, you're like, it's still early beta, but we were surprised. And now you've gotten so far along. It's been I think 8 months, 9 months since the Expo.
Mm-hmm.
Are you guys getting close to actual full release of the wheel, or when can we expect the wheel to hit the market?
End of the year.
End of the year. Okay.
We're finalizing it at this point.
Mm-hmm.
It's more or less finalized. So we're now onto final prototyping,
Mm-hmm.
and then we need to dial in production and QC. So one of the things with direct drive motors is that there's a lot of not a lot, but there are some misconceptions and just in general with the general public not really super educated
Mm-hmm.
on how these things work and what is important. For example, the motor itself.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like every motor is the same.
Right.
That's not how it works. There's really a distinctive difference between mass-produced motors that are optimized. Optimized harmonics they call it.
Mm-hmm.
Basically means the way that they are wound.
Mm-hmm.
You could. The thing is that you can take a couple of shortcuts, which really speeds up production of these rotors and stators, but are very have the characteristics of the motor can be negatively affected.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm talking about torque ripple, deliver the more or less smoothness. So In our opinion, there's still gains to be made, in
Yeah.
that field. You tested them yourself.
Yeah.
It feels very smooth.
Mhm.
It's the smoothness also for a part comes from the torque control. The motors are controlled by the torque factor.
Mhm.
That's how it operates, and the torque loop, which drives the motors, is super high frequency.
Mhm.
So it's super smooth. It has a way higher frequency than, for example, the force feedback that the motor receives from the sim.
Mhm.
But so in that way, it's still very much limited by the force feedback that comes out of the sim. But yeah, on the hardware side, it's the best it can be.
I mean, I'm going to assume now, since now you're doing cockpits, you're doing pedals, shifters. Now, with the upcoming wheelbase, I guess, is this a long-term vision for SimLab, is to become a full stack sim hardware company,
Sure.
and with your complete ecosystem of all that equipment?
No, that's the goal. And the goal, what is great about it is that you're going to end up with one piece of software.
Mhm.
So we want to do the direct drive base now. We have a couple of other products that we're going to launch this year, and obviously it's going to end up as one piece of software, one manufacturer. And I guess the future where it's going to end up is that because it's kind of the fun thing about it is the cockpits that we used to make we need to cater to all other brands,
Right.
which we don't want to lose. We don't want to give up. We're not going to be. We're not thinking that people will only have our gear. That's not the case. So it will always cater to all other brands. Handbrakes of pedals, wheelbases. But it opens up a window of opportunity where you can make a cockpit which is just completely dialed in to only your gear.
Right.
And then I think there's an optimization step that you can take.
Mhm.
And that's where it's going to head off to. But, sim racing is very much like the whole hobby, it kind of evolves around starting at one point and slowly upgrading your gear, and that's the fun of it.
Yeah. So it's never like you buy once and then you're done. It's like you always say it as a sim racer, like, yeah, I'm going to buy that. Like, I'm never buying ever again. And then 6 months later, like, ooh, I need that.
It's part of the fun, right? And,
yep.
So it's still, I guess it's going to be limited,
right?
But still, it's interesting, and
we kind of have a saying in the Simpit, where it's like, and especially between me and Sean, like as we're building our standalone rigs, not our using review rigs, is we're going to have our forever rigs, and then slowly over time it turned into now they're being called the for never rigs because they're never complaining.
Yeah, that's a good name.
What kind of, so I guess to get into now more on the manufacturer side, what kind of tech and processes goes into now manufacturing? You used to do everything in-house, but now you've kind of started outsourcing. How do you ensure the consistency and quality at the scale that SimLab has grown?
That's a good question. I'm kind of trying to figure it out myself also, more in the regard of like, how do I not lose? How do we not lose the quality of everything that we make while we're scaling up, and while the company is growing? And it's just a grind. You need to, the processes are always changing. The manufacturers that you get on board always need, to get up to speed with what you're doing and what's specific about the stuff that you make. So it's always, it's a very intense process. It requires a lot of effort to get it right. It doesn't really matter what you do, it just requires a lot of effort. And I don't think there is a single solution for it. Like, okay, we slap this onto that process and it's fixed. It's not. It's just once you are in control of one certain process, something else is derailing. You need to focus on that. And so it's not one way. It's just commitment, perseverance, and love in the end for what you're doing. That's the only thing that can save you.
Yeah, I mean, and going along, I mean, I guess it's really important. Like now that you don't have enough space, where you're at, you don't have enough space to do the manufacturing and logistics and everything like that. I guess is it very important to have good relationship with those manufacturers that because now you can rely on like, hey, they have the same philosophy as me, so these are going to be my partners moving forward, or is it just more of I've seen their work and then move forward?
But manufacturers are. I would almost say it's like your family, that you work very close with them. Both parties are most of the time very much invested in each other. And it's very important to build up a good relation, work on problems, and
Cool. Yeah. And now we're getting into, I mean, we saw, I mean, of course, seeing how far you've grown in the past 10 years, and especially during COVID when everybody was stuck at home, everybody was like a lot of people just couldn't keep things in stock. And now we've seen, because before then, people wanted to sim race, they had very limited options. But now we're seeing, companies are popping up left and right. So what is your thought process and what are you guys doing to make sure you guys stay pretty much essentially one of the top brands in sim racing and to stay ahead of essentially stay ahead of your competitors?
Well, I think that we've seen a lot of companies, entering the market. I think that's kind of over now. I don't see that there's going to be a huge amount of other companies entering the market, but we're very strong on the cockpit side, which I don't see really quickly that is something that we're going to lose, but it's not really something that I also control myself. I cannot control other brands, what they're doing, what they're coming out with. Obviously, a lot of other brands are also pushing the market forward, and we want to be in a place where we are relevant and people want to buy our products. We're trying to make the best products that we can for the best for what we think makes sense.
Right.
The certain price points / quality. But in general, I think you could say the industry is growing. And the high-end segment is growing, and that's good. And we're going to be in I don't think necessarily we're going to stay exactly at the place which we're sitting now in terms of mid-end to high-end. Let's take the Formula One wheel. That's on a different island on itself. It's not super representable for the vision and where we want to be for price range wise. We got a steering wheel coming out, another one, which is never been said anywhere else before. But
you heard it first, guys.
It's not going to be in the price range of the Formula One wheel, but far not. So it's going to be accessible for a lot of other people. But the current strategy and vision and roadmap is I don't know, doing more of what we're doing now with some here and there, some side trips towards.
Cool.
I'm not sure if that makes any sense.
No, it makes sense, man. It does. Okay. So with building all this equipment, what role does the community feedback play into the development and the build? Are you involving content creators, your customers, esport drivers, into shaping the products at SimLab?
Well, in general, no. In general, I think it would be really bad practice to ask a ask esporters to come up with your product. You know, I think it's. I mean, it makes a lot of sense.
Right.
You know, and obviously the market is steering whatever it wants. You need to make. You know, it's not the other way around.
Right.
So for sure, you know, that is the case. But in the end, on the specifics and on actual product design, you know, you need a product designer that figures out how it needs to be made. And so in general, you know, a lot of comes from my vision also on the products. You know, I think that's one of the powers of SimLab, because I'm a sim racer. I sim race at home. You know, if I get a chance, I would say almost every day, I quickly jump into the sim. You know, I'm a huge fan of iRacing. So that just helps to understanding what is important and what is the next product. You know, and but so one of the things, you know, which I think is a really good example, is that we got a lot of feedback from people on the P1X Pro that had slanted uprights.
Right.
And we are about to release a cockpit, which we're going to call the P1X Ultimate.
Okay.
And it's going to have basically the old P1, P1X, but with all the good things of the P1X Pro. So ease of assembly. It doesn't have any corner brackets, so it's way more easy to assemble, but with the old profiles with all the slots and the upright. So yeah, it's a good example of feedback from the community, like, look, we like your P1X Pro, and also according to our data on our side, you know, it was a huge success, but still people want in the old style cockpit. So yeah, we listen to the community, and we're going to release it pretty soon. Probably it's going to be released by the time this video gets.
Oh wow! Okay, sweet.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that, man.
Yeah.
I mean, and looking ahead, what excites you the most about the future of sim racing, and how are you preparing SimLab for, you know, what's next in the hardware and user experience?
I think, you know, I have a certain vision on the future of sim racing products. You know, the thing is, I think nowadays that the sim products are going into a direction where it doesn't necessarily have a lot to do anymore with. I'm talking basically, for example, I'm talking about steering wheels. You know, if you're driving in a F4 car, you know, the steering wheel is just the steering wheel with one button on it or whatever. You know,
Right.
I mean, so yeah, there's sim racing is very high end, where products are like need to have the same quality level as high end jewels or something like that. You know, but the real racing it's not the case with real racing. You know, everything creaks, everything. It's just messed up. Sweat, you know, suede steering wheels are just.
Oh, I'm sure if sim racers saw like the back of a Porsche Cup car wheel and saw like all the wires dangling, the electrical tape, they'd be like, that's a race car wheel.
Yeah, they would call customer support, you know, ranting. Yeah. So I have a certain vision on it, you know, and we're going to pursue that. And yeah.
Cool, man.
Let's see. Nobody knows how it's going to pan out, you know. And on the sim racing side, specifically on the software side, you know, I think it's just golden times. You know, I'm super excited about the future, about everything that iRacing is doing. You know, I really love that they are so focused on really the simulation side, to not lose that out of sight. You know, so everything that they introduce into the sim is really based upon physics models. You know, no shortcuts in that way. I just love it. I think it's really great.
Cool, man. And I say, like, finally, like, for the official part of the interview, I mean, again, SimLab, next year will be 10 years of SimLab. Going from your first prototype to your latest product, what's been the most rewarding moment of your journey with this company?
I think, I think the success in general. I don't think I can specifically name one thing. There are a couple of personal success stories within the company which I really like. People that grew into their role, coming out of nowhere, becoming a very important person inside of SimLab, which I think is like really great. I really love that happens. But obviously, that's completely shielded from the outside. And other things are like I'm really grateful and I feel privileged that I have been able to raise myself. I've got some really great experiences on some really great tracks. Spa, obviously Zandvoort, which is pretty close by. So that part I really love. The whole part of Mercedes F1. Working with them, talking to specific, very famous Formula One drivers, personal contact, I think was one of the really, really great things that I've done. But I'm also not like trying to dwell too much on that. In the end, it's just SimLab became a reasonably sized company,
right? Which
is a challenge from day to day, and you just need to keep your head down and keep grinding and working.
Well, I mean, it's been working. There's in a short amount of time, you guys have become a very big company within sim racing. And obviously, I can tell, man, you have tremendous passion for sim racing. I've met you throughout a couple of the sim racing expos, and sitting here too. You sitting there talking everything. I can see your lights getting brighter and everything. So again, I want to thank you for everything that you've done for sim racing. Hopefully, we can see your success. But before we close out the interview, we'll end the formal version. Now we get into the informal and actually get to know Richard as a sim racer a little bit better. So I'm going to ask him a couple of quick fire questions, and let's see how well he does. So start off first. Favorite sim?
Software, iRacing.
All right,
by far.
Okay. Favorite track?
I have a couple. That's a difficult one. I think. So can I name three?
Sure, name three.
Motorsport.
Okay.
I really love it. I had some great races there online. So
great track.
I drove there in real life, which was really crazy. It's a crazy track. Spa. I would say Zandvoort also, and probably Portimao, more or less.
Okay. Your favorite race car in Sims?
Why are you doing this to me? The thing. Look, I need to. The thing that I love about specifically iRacing is that it represents all of these different motorsport areas really well. So I really like rallycross.
Okay.
I really like dirt, oval, short track. I really like NASCAR or short track stock cars. GT3, open wheelers.
It's hard.
I cannot choose. It's so great that we can choose from all of these things.
All right, we'll give you a pass for that one. Okay, then who is your favorite driver? It could be sim or real driver. It could be past, present. Who's your
favorite driver?
Yeah, your favorite race car driver.
Yeah, it's Max Verstappen.
I mean, of course, Netherlands. I'll give you that one. Yeah. I should have never even asked that question.
Oh yeah, it's my favorite. I guess. Yeah.
All right, so then we'll say, we're going to put him here on the stand a little bit. What was your most humiliating experience in the sim, or what was your worst experience in the sim?
Oh, I know. Not in real life, I would. I know.
we won't torture you that much, but in the sim, what was your worst moment in the sim?
Oh, I had so many.
Okay.
Oh my God, I had so many getting taken out in T1 so many times. Let me check if I can recall something. I think one of the worst moments was when I started an endurance race for the team. I was in, I think I was in second or third spot in qualify or something like that, and the whole team was watching. I took the car. I was doing the start. I was on Spa, and I had a very good pace. I could instantly close the gap with number one, and I was like, let's. I was already thinking about overtaking, and then in the first lap or something, or second lap, I lost it somewhere in some corner and put it into the wall.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll end it on a good note.
Okay.
What was your most what was your proudest moment in sim racing?
I think proudest moments. Not specifically one. I think my 100th win or something in iRacing, which felt like an achievement. But that's really one specific thing.
Okay.
I would say more I think in real life, winning a couple of races, P1 qualies, stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's sim and real life. It carries over to real life, which is really great. Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, great, man. Again, Richard, I want to thank you again. Thank you for letting me come out here and have a chat, get a tour of the area. I've had a blast so far.
You're welcome.
Hopefully, we can meet again soon, man. Thank you a lot.
Yeah, man. It's really nice. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.